Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I feel like I say that every episode, and it's just like so boring. I need like a new catchphrase. Like, I don't know, maybe I need to like come in with like some random sentence for the first thing. Like, hi, everybody, I am fucking sick of this house shit. Like, I don't know, like some real thing to say in the beginning of the episode. Anywho, okay, so this is actually going to be a short and sweet one. I've been getting questions on this a lot. So this is like a what would Monica do, but not a what would Monica do. So it's going to be short and sweet in answering the question, but to the point, because I actually feel like I need a fucking episode just titled this episode for people to refer to. Okay, the episode is about how to get your man to do the work. Drum roll. Okay, so firstly, I would like to preface your man does not okay, I don't even know where to start on this one because I get DMs about this all the time. It's like, I want my man to do the man, or I want my man to do the work. Like, how do I get him to do the work? My first thing always is, are you doing the work and not reading the fucking book? Because it's not going to like sink into a man's brain when he's seeing a book of like, I don't know, how to win over people and influence people, whatever that book is called. How to win people and influence people. You know the guy, you know the one I'm talking about, the famous one. Like, he might just look at it and be like, and like, whatever. Yes, you might plant a seed, but like nothing really is going to possibly happen. Nothing really is probably going to happen. When I'm talking about you doing the work, I mean, are you paying the money, doing the homework, and visibly having results? So if you are visibly changing, let's say I'm going to use clients' examples. This one, I mean, I can't keep track of the amount of times it's happened. Why are you not emasculating me anymore? Obviously, they've done B11 on a mother or Queen Alchemy or whatever it is, right? Or, wait, you're being so nice. What's going on? Or, you haven't been moody lately. Like, are you okay? The amount of times I've had men email me saying thank you, I have lost track of, because men, like, they are very in tune. Like, they will often bite their tongue when we're being bitches towards them because they just want to make us happy and they want to please us and they're just the most amazing creatures, right? So they'll bite their tongue, but they know that we're being bitches, or they know our bad habits, or they know our, like shitty traits that we have about ourselves, and they wish they could change them. So when they're all of a sudden changed or gone, or our behavior has changed, they notice it. So if you are doing the work where your behavior is actually changing, and you are, let's say every Thursday, like, babe, I'm going to my Queen Alchemy call, don't disturb me, like 4 to 6, see you afterwards. And then you're sharing it with them maybe afterwards, or they ask you about it or whatever it is, or you've said to them like, you're investing in this thing. They are like, wow, she's like really doing the work. They see it. And what happens is, and you can't do it, you can't do this work in the hope that they'll do it. You have to do it for yourself, right? But what happens is you become the embodiment of the highest version of yourself that you want to be. And you become, I hate this word, but the light, right? You become the example. You become the example for them and the inspiration and this muse where they're like, wow, she's like really risen. I need to rise too. Like, she has done so much work on herself, and like, look at where she is now. Look at how amazing her life has, look at how amazing she now is with her, I don't know, habits, the way that she talks about herself or thinks about herself, or she's no longer binging anymore, or she's, no longer having crazy mood swings, or this PMS issue, or snapping at me or emasculating me. Like, wow, I want to be a better version of myself for her too. That's what happens. And that's how you have to do it. You have to do it of like, you're doing the work on yourself. So you become this shining example for them to want to do the work on themselves. Now, obviously not always. They will just want to do the work on themselves because they do. But what happens is a lot of men will wait until they hit rock bottom, because men don't want someone else to tell them how to fix it. They want to be able to fix it themselves. They don't want to go to the doctors. They don't want to go to a naturopath. They don't want to go, they don't want to call the handyman in, because they're like, I want to be able to fix this myself. For a lot of men, it's like a sign of defeat if they're reaching out for help from somebody else. And obviously it's not a sign of defeat, right? Like men have trauma just like women do, so it's absolutely not a sign of defeat. But what is really important to understand is that a lot of men will wait until they hit rock bottom where they literally have no choice but to get help. So there isn't that internal battle of can I do it myself? Do I go there? Like there's not that battle. It's just like I have to get the help. I need the help. I'm going to do it. So instead of waiting for your man to hit rock bottom, or instead of, waiting for your relationship to hit rock bottom for him to finally go and look at himself, how about you start with you? How about you start by investing actual fucking money and having actual skin in the game and showing him what you are doing by sitting down and watching the video at like once a week, or by telling him I'm going to my Queen Alchemy calls or whatever it is, or by sharing with him how excited you are that you just invested in Be a Lover, Not a Mother, so you learned how to not emasculate him anymore, or by sitting him down one night and apologizing for emasculating him for the whole fucking relationship, and him being like, wait, what the hell, like, where did this come from? And then you sharing with him what you were doing. That becomes the source of inspiration and the light where he is then like, I would like to be able to meet her at that level. So I'm going to do work on myself too. That's how you want to do it. You don't want to, be saying to him, you have to do this, you have to do that. Now, there are times, obviously, if you are hanging on to your relationship by a thread and he's not willing, and he's like, let's say, I'm just going to use some examples from people in the past. So let's say, for example, like shit's about to fucking crumble and you're about to get divorced, you're about to break up in your relationship. And he's like, I will do anything to keep you around. But you are like, I'm fucking done. You've cheated on me. You've lied to me. Whatever it is, you've like lost the trust. For a lot of women, what can help gain the trust is them doing serious work on themselves where they have to confront their fucking trauma and take responsibility for it. Not read the fucking book, not do a podcast, not go to talk therapy. It's like, oh, now I know my trauma. Okay, that makes sense why I cheated on you. No. Like the women want to actually know that they have had to go past their ego and do the really, really uncomfortable stuff. That is when you would be like, you want to know what you can do to save the relationship? Go and do the man, for example, and like go actually fucking do some somatic healing. And I want like weekly updates of like what you've realized, what you're doing, and I want to like see the noticeable difference, and then I will stay. That would be the time when you actually, like when you need to use an ultimatum, then you would use the man. If you want to gently give a nudge, for example, you could text him the link to the man, for example, or text him like a podcast episode of mine and be like, hey, like let's say you want to do a podcast episode first. You could text him a link and be like, hey babe, just listen to this. So good. Thought you might be interested. Boom, done. Don't mention it again. Don't bring it up at dinner. So did you listen to the podcast episode the next day? Did you listen to the podcast episode? That's going to fucking annoy him. And he's going to be like, fuck that Monica bitch. I'm not listening to her podcast. You're going to do the opposite of what you're wanting. Another thing that you could do would be like, you would send him the URL of the man and be like, hey babe, I know you've been thinking about like doing some work on yourself like I've been doing on myself. Monica's program, the man is open. Like it looks good. Here's a link if you want it. Don't mention it. Do not mention it. Do not bring it up again. Do not push it. Do not ask him a week later, have you joined the man? Just leave it. He will bring it up with you. You have to give him space. And obviously make sure that, like, please, for love of God, make sure that you have done a considerable amount of work on yourself that is similar to what you are asking of him. So let's say, for example, you want to send him the link to the man. Well, fucking go for it. If you've done Queen Alchemy or 101, or you come to one of my immersions or whatever it is. But if you just listen to my podcast, but you're like, my man fucking needs to do work on himself, and you just send him this link, I'm like, is that fair? Probably not. Because like you haven't done the equivalent of that. So it's like it's like kind of being a hypocrite basically. Now, if you haven't done any of my programs, but you would love for him to do the man or listen to my podcast episodes, because that could be a really good starting point for him, and you haven't done any of my programs, but you listen to my podcast, then you would send him a podcast link, because it's like staying on the same playing field, if that makes sense. You're not mothering him by saying, you need to do this, but you haven't done it. That would not be fair. That would not be fair. So they are my tips on how to get your man to quote unquote do the work. And I also want to say as well, like you pushing it, just please don't. Like just don't push anyone to do this kind of work, because it's not going to give you the outcome that you want. That's number one. And then number two also is like, every man is going to go at his own pace and his own journey, and he's not going to get results or put the work in if you like force him into doing something. But like even if he hasn't done the work, let's say, in the way that you want him to. Be open to him doing it in a way that works for him if you see that it works, right? So, like, for example, my boyfriend hasn't done any somatic healing, but with his personality, his history, what he's gone through, like the work that he has done on himself and the way that he has done it on himself means that when I bring something up, like, hey babe, I didn't like when you said X, Y, and Z, he doesn't like shut me down. He's like, I take full responsibility. Like, that was shitty of me. Like, I'm sorry. And we're like, cool, moving on, next. So even though he hasn't done like the man, for example, I know, like, I see by his behavior and the way that he responds to me that every day he is doing the work and he does take on board what he learns from podcasts or what he learns from me and all that kind of stuff. It's never that he's quote unquote like, been through his shit, but I don't actually see it in our communication and in the way that he interacts with me. So just also be mindful of that as well. With like your man, like there is like, just because you think this is the way to do it, let him do it in a way that feels good for him as well, because what feels good for him is going to get him the results for where he is at his life at the moment. Where he is in his life at the moment. So I'm going to leave that with that. Obviously, on that note, the man is open for enrollment. So the link will be below. This is the second time that I'm running it, the last time for the year. And it's fucking amazing. It's Queen Alchemy for men, basically. And all of the details, what we cover, what we go over, testimonials, all that jazz, payment options, blah, blah, blah. They're all on the website page, so you can check them out. If your man or if you have any questions about it, I don't want any females asking me questions about it. Like your man, like no mothering, your man can email me. If you listening as a man have any questions or whatnot, just send me an email. You can send me a DM if you want, or just send me an email and I'll answer them for you. And that's everything. I loved doing the round last time. It's going to be great to do another round. And I just feel so humbled and excited and blessed to be able to be bringing this trauma work to men, because it is so important and they need it too. And it's amazing for all men to be doing this stuff and to be able to have the time and the space for themselves, where they can drop their ego and they don't have to be like this perfect man. They can let themselves crumble, fall, get through their shit, X, Y, and Z, so they can actually be the man and the best man. So I'm going to love you and leave you guys there. I hope that you all have a lovely day, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode.